Hi, I'm Claire and it is time for another book haul. Between a few books I've acquired before Worldcon and everything that came in afterwards, that is quite a chunky pile of things. I'm not holding it up again because I already almost hit myself in the eye when I was doing the thumbnail picture. So first up I have 3 books that I acquired before going to Ireland for Worldcon. I'm not going to talk about them too much because I've mentioned most of them already on the channel. First up we have Top Marks for Murder by Robin Stevens. This is the 8th book in the Murder Most Unladylike series. This is a middle grade YA murder mystery series about 2 schoolgirls in the 1930s in England. They go to this really posh boarding school and murders keep happening around them and they keep solving the murders. This one is back at the boarding school. There is a special anniversary weekend where all of the parents of the school girls are invited to, and so you get to see the girls interacting with their families or what happens if their families don't come to the thing, and obviously there's another murder and they have to figure out what's going on right quick, because if they don't, it's the 3rd murder at the school and that might mean the school has to now shut down because it is kind of murder central in there. Obviously they don't want the school to shut down, so they have to find out who done it. Next up I've got The Witch Boy by Molly Knox Ostertag. This is a graphic novel about a boy who comes from a family in which all of the women are witches and all of the men are shapeshifters. Problem is he feels like he should be a witch rather than a shapeshifter. This causes a whole lot of trouble with his family. If you want to know more about this book, I actually talked about it in a lot more detail in my 3 mini reviews of graphic novels video that I did really recently, so I will leave a link to that in the description box below if you want to check it out. I really enjoyed this. I'm gonna be reading and probably also buying the sequel, so that's an endorsement from me. Next I've got Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I got this for the Newts, if I remember correctly, because it's got yellow and green on the cover and those are my Harry Potter house colours because I'm a Slitherpuff. I haven't actually had time to read it yet, but I'm still really excited to read it because I really enjoy Silvia Moreno Garcia's work and I really enjoy what she does with mythology, and this is also another book of hers that is really heavily mythology based. This is set in the 1920s in Mexico and we follow a woman called Cassiopeia who just dreams of escaping her mundane small town life where she is cleaning floors in her wealthy grandfather's house, and that escape comes in a shape she didn't really expect when she accidentally frees the ancient Mayan god of death. Basically now she has to help this ancient god of death reclaim his throne that's been stolen by his brother, and so that takes her on an adventure. This book sounds amazing. Like I said, I've really enjoyed other books by Moreno Garcia, especially when she goes into Mayan mythology. So I'm super looking forward to it, and the more I think of it, the more I think it'll be better read in the dead of winter rather than in heatwave August anyway. So this works for me. Next I have a few books that were sent to me by publishers. First up I have these 2 sequels that are already out. We've got Jade War by Fonda Lee, which was sent to me from Orbit Books. This is the sequel to Jade City, her really acclaimed fantasy novel that a lot of my friends have read and absolutely loved. Haven't read it yet, but I do have a copy and I do want to get into this series because it sounds really great. It's basically a fantasy series about this city where by using jade people can get superpowers basically, and so these 2 rival families are warring over the control of the jade. Now I don't want to read too much of the back of this because again I want to read the series. I don't want to give myself too many spoilers, but the final book in the trilogy, Jade Legacy, has just been announced as well, so just looking forward to all of these. I've also got A Chain Across the Dawn by Drew Williams, which was sent to me from Tor Books. This is the trade paperback of it. This is the 2nd book in the series that starts with The Stars Now Unclaimed, which I read last year and quite enjoyed. This one has a blurb from Becky Chambers on the cover saying, "Come for the exploding spaceships, stay for the intriguing universe." And I would have to say I very, very much agree. The universe and the world building in this series was what I liked the best about the first book. This is set in a universe that's been constantly at war for centuries, and the problem is exacerbated when a massive explosion ravages the entire universe, with the consequence that basically some planets have all of their technology knocked back to previous ages and some of them don't. It's completely random, but it does mean that some planets have standards of living falling drastically on them, and some are able to retain their technology and therefore gain the upper hand in the constant warring that's going on. I don't want to say too much more about this because I don't want to fall into spoiler territory, but in the first book we meet a woman called Jane who is an agent of a faction named the Justified, and Jane goes around the universe trying to find children with supernatural powers that might help in the fight that the Justified engages in. Again, spoilers. In this second book, it is 3 years after the events of the first book, and Essa, the child that's being rescued in the first book from this backwater planet with zero technology, she is now on the ship with Jane. They have adventures together. There we go. I think it's about how I can describe it without being too spoilery, but letting you know what it is that I really enjoyed about the first book and why I want to continue the series. Next up we have The Undoing of Arlo Not by Heather Child. This came out on the 1st of August and it was sent to me for review from Orbit Books. The high level pitch for this one is, what if your life had an undo button? This main character, Arlo Not, finds himself suddenly with the power to undo his last action, and then all of a sudden his life is free of mistakes. If he puts his foot in his mouth, he can just undo it. If he stubs his toe, he can just undo it, and various other things like that. But he does also find himself haunted by this mistake he made when he was a child, and the temptation to undo and undo and undo and undo until he can get back to undoing this one fateful mistake is very, very strong. Now, the high-level pitch for this sounds really, really cool, like pretty much, you know, an episode of Black Mirror, but in book form. The one thing that I'm not sure about whether it will appeal to me personally or not is that it says this has crossover appeal with mainstream fiction, and I tend not to love when mainstream fiction books try to do SFF, but the fact that it comes out from Orbit Books, which is an SFF publisher that publishes a lot of books that I absolutely love, does give me a bit more confidence than I would otherwise have, so this is an interesting one, I think. Next up, also from Orbit Books, I've got The Bone Ships by R.J. Barker. And first up, can we talk about how beautiful this book is? I just absolutely love the cover of it. The illustration is by Edward Bettison and the design and lettering are by Hannah Wood at LBBG. I think it's fantastic. I would love some like art or poster or something like that of just dragons and maps and stuff. Like, yes, please. This is set in a world where for hundreds and hundreds of years, two nations at war have made warships from the bones of ancient dragons. The dragons have been extinct for a really long time, but they still have those bone ships from the title, and they are locked in this war because they are about the same kind of level of power, except one day someone sees a dragon far, far off the shore, and then suddenly the race is on to presumably catch the dragon, maybe make it into another ship or use it in the war in some capacity, because obviously that would be a huge asset and maybe bring the war finally to an end. This sounds very Life Ship Traders to me, and I read the Life Ship Traders by Robin Hobb at an impressionable age, and I absolutely love that series. Way overdue for a reread, by the way. It just seems like it would be in that same vein, and by the way, Robin Hobb herself blurbed this book and called it brilliant, so I don't need much more than that to be excited about this. As I'm filming this video, it's out in a few days time. It's out on the 26th of September, but by the time you're seeing this, it'll have been just out, so if you want to pick it up, it should be available. The next couple of things that I've got that are available now are things that I bought for myself. First up, we have Lady Killers, Deadly Women Throughout History by Tori Teffler, with illustrations by Dame Darcy. This is a book about women who are serial killers, or who were serial killers throughout history. I got a recommendation for this when I was asking for non-fiction about witches for a project that I'm going to be doing in October. More on that in a few days, but someone mentioned this and they said it's not really about witches, but it does talk about the perception of witchcraft and the idea of the witch. Now, I ordered it anyway because I do find true crime fascinating. I'm trying not to wade too deep into true crime because I'm easily freaked out. With true crime, I basically need to make sure that I don't consume enough of it that it keeps me up at night thinking about weird freaky murders. So I'm gonna probably have to be careful about this one and read it in little chunks during the day because I received the book and opened it up and just had a brief look at the introduction, and the introduction is kind of all about how we have this idea that serial killers tend to be men and that there's not that many female serial killers, and the serial killers who were women that we know of throughout history have all been referred to as different things. And this is where the witch thing comes in, right? Women who are evil and murderous and just do bad things tend to be referred to as witches and crones and other things like that, rather than saying the thing that society is very scared of, which is that sometimes some women are just evil, the same way that sometimes some men are just evil. So I don't know how much there will be in terms of actual like witch stuff, which is the thing I'm interested in for my October project, but it still seems like it's going to be fascinating. Just again, I have to take it in small doses during the day because if I read it before bed, I'm never going to sleep again. And finally, for books I acquired myself in this period, my pre-order of Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir finally came in. This is the first edition with the beautiful black sprayed edges. Look at how pretty this book is. Under the dust jacket, it's got this amazing like copper skull with sunglasses on. It makes me so happy just to look at. I haven't even started this book yet because I'm trying to finish my space opera September TBR in time to start with my like witch project in October, and I need to read this before the end of September because again, I have this witch project I want to do in October. I have so many things that I want to read for it. I won't have time for a whole other novel, so I really want to get a lot of reading done this weekend as I'm filming this, and then hopefully have a bit of time for this before October. I haven't even talked about what it is yet. This is one of the most ridiculously hyped books in SFF this year. It's the one that's been pitched for ages and ages as lesbian necromancers in space, and basically the whole thing around this book, like the cover of it, the marketing that they've done, it all looks extremely cool. But more than that, my friends who've had review copies of this, and particularly Renee of Lady Business, whose read this book like last year when she first got the arc. Like, they have been raving about this book for so long that I am really excited to dive in. It looks like a proper kind of like epic thing with these houses of power and like complex magic and loyalty and stuff. Next up, I have a couple of books coming out in October that were sent to me for review. First up is The Future of Another Timeline by Annalee Newitz. This comes out from Orbit Books on the 24th of October, and this is the time traveling politics book of my heart, or rather this is kind of what I expect it to be based on the blurb. I haven't actually read it yet, but it is set in a world very close to our own, except it has time travel, and it has a time travel war going on between various groups that are trying to go back in time and change the timeline to basically stomp out women's rights and make sure that women don't have access to time travel at all and are stuck in one like time period. So this sounds like it ticks all of my boxes, and I've really enjoyed time travel books this year. The book also came with this fabric patch as a goodie that says we are in the wrong timeline, so that is a painfully accurate marketing goodie. Thank you, Orbit. Well played. And finally, from Tor.com Publishing, I have Sisters of the Vast Black by Lena Rather. This comes out on October 29th, and it is about an order of space nuns called the Order of St. Rita, and they go around on their living, breathing spaceship called Our Lady of Impossible Constellations. I've been so excited about this book since I first heard it announced a while ago, because it does have this Order of Space Nuns, and I've been wanting to read more about science fiction and fantasy religions, and specifically sci-fi and fantasy like monastic orders and like convents and stuff like that, basically since I read Grey Sister by Mark Lawrence for the Booktube SFF Awards. So I'm very excited for this. This is a Tor.com novella, so it's quite short. I'm hoping to get it read around my witchy project so that I can review it like when it comes out. I don't know when I'm gonna find the time to read and review The Future of Another Timeline, but I'm gonna have to because I'm so excited to read this book. So that's it. This was a rather larger than I had anticipated book haul for the last few months minus Worldcon. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what books you're most excited about, which ones you've read or you're excited to read. I am very much looking forward to all of these. I feel like I need to maybe like book in a 3-week holiday just for reading. That's not gonna happen, but you know, in my dreams. If you'd like to see more from me, you can check out a previous video on screen right now. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button that's on my face for a new video from me every week. I've been Claire, thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.